Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Wellness with Delaney podcast. I am here today with Allie Egan. She is the founder of Veracity, which is a really amazing supplement company, wellness company that I personally use regularly. It has changed my life, so I've been really excited to get her on the show today. Allie, thank you so much for joining.
I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so glad that we are able to support your health journey because that's what I love hearing.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Yeah, I have to say I was a skeptic at first, and I have been using your product for months, and I've seen incredible results, which we will definitely get into. I don't want to give too much away too early. But so let's start with, why is metabolic health so important?
Sure. So I think people have like a rough sense of what metabolic health or metabolism is, but like not a deep sense. And like at its core, your metabolism is literally how you use energy from the food you consume to do anything else in the body. And that could be thinking, that could be working out, that could be like digesting your food. So without a proper, well functioning metabolism, your body literally has no energy to do anything. And that can be to fight disease and, or to, like I said, just do your sort of normal daily activities. So, like, if you think about like even the world of wellness and how much like gut health has come and been such a big part of what we talk about in wellness over the last few years, it is super important. And bodies are complicated. So these things are all intertwined. But gut health is really about sort of cleaning out the gas tank, if you would, right? Making sure there's no gunk in there, right? Like that sort of things can operate. But you also have to have gas in the gas tank for the car to go. And that's really what metabolic health is. And so that's what, if we all are wanting things out of our lives, right? We have ambitions for ourselves, whether it's, running a marathon or just, being able to run around with your children, et cetera, be able to do well at your job. And you can't do that unless your body is fueling itself properly. That is the basis of metabolism. The problem today is that we're living in this environment, both external and internal, that is literally wreaking havoc on our cells and our metabolism. So not only, are there the general issues of like aging, but we are overburdening our systems to the point where now we cannot process fuel and energy in the way that, allows us to take proper care of ourselves. And that's from the toxins are in our environment. Number one, probably being ultra processed foods, which is almost everything. Like, sadly, even if you eat healthy, about 75% of the food that you're eating is ultra processed because it can be cheese and, other dairy and things that we think of as like healthy, but like are not something that you could recreate in your kitchen. And they have chemicals that are basically confusing our body and our cells and making our bodies work to just process toxins rather than fuel ourselves. And then obviously there's the environmental toxins, whether it's the water that has contamination or plastics and the microplastics all around us. And then the last is our sort of social emotional side that's adding to this, and that's stress, right? And that really does add to our cellular toxic load and not allow our body to function in the way that we would like.
Wow. So I think a lot of people are under this conception, I guess misconception, that the metabolism is purely weight, right? Like, how if somebody has a
Yeah.
fast metabolism, they can eat 4 pieces of pizza and not gain any weight, versus somebody has a slow metabolism, they look at a donut and they feel like they gain 5 pounds. So you're
Yeah.
saying it's this whole spectrum of health beyond just weight, which
Yes.
is such a paradigm shift that I don't think a lot of people realize.
And what I'm excited to like for us as a company, like our vision is really to bring that to life, because when you get the cells and the cellular metabolism working properly, you get this cascade of other benefits. And of course, we think of weight, and that's an important one, right? It's something we deal with every day. It affects our self-esteem. Like, it is super important. And weight, being overweight is also the number one all-cause mortality. So that is super important. But it also affects our immunity, our energy, our ability to be strong and build strength at the gym and other things. Like, It touches basically every area of our health and wellness that we, want to sort of amp up or get stronger.
Amazing. So it sounds like a lot of people really could benefit from seeking metabolic health, just knowing that you walk outside and you're bombarded with anything that could disrupt your metabolism. So how many people, I mean, I guess give or take estimate, like how many adults in the US are currently struggling with a dysfunctional metabolism?
Sure. Sadly, in the US, it's about 93% of people have some metabolic dysfunction. And it doesn't mean weight. It can be blood sugar balance. It can be cholesterol. There's a whole host of sort of, internal and external symptoms. But that is crazy to me. That's like literally less than, almost everyone you encounter is going to have some type of metabolic dysfunction.
That's insane. I mean, it's a really sad statistic. And I think unless we as a society can move towards a solution, which we'll definitely get into,
Yeah.
it's only going to get worse. So
Seriously.
yeah, it's insane. So how do GLP-1s impact the metabolism?
Sure. They don't actually directly impact the metabolism. So, what they do is it's a synthetically derived version of a hormone that our body naturally makes called GLP-1. And what that hormone does is it basically communicates from the gut to the brain. So normally this hormone is only activated or like it present in your body after you consume nutrients. So it starts with the breakdown of food in your mouth. As that travels to the gut then signals back to the brain to say like, oh, I'm actually full. The problem that this has been disrupted for us and why our GLP-1 as a society has been chronically too low is the ultra processed foods. So foods are all made of, and I'm going to be nerdy here because that's just how I roll, but like food, we've all heard of macronutrients, carbohydrates, carbs, protein, and fats. And our body is uniquely good at recognizing different chemicals from foods in nature that we can identify. The problem with ultra processed food is our body literally can't even recognize it as food in the same way. So it's not registering like, oh, I have protein, I have fat, I have carbs. And so it doesn't send these same strong signals to our brains to tell us we're full. If you think about it practically, it's the reason you can eat like an entire bag of chips, but you're not going to eat like an entire bag of broccoli. Because your body is better at signaling, hey, I'm full off the broccoli versus I'm full off the chips. And so what these GLP-1 medications do, it takes this synthetic version and it takes this hormone that is important and supposed to be present in our bodies, but typically only present for about an hour max, like as we're eating, after we're eating. And it extends it so it's present at like 10 times the level it normally is for an entire week. So obviously there's some benefits of that, like people really do not feel hunger and they almost feel the opposite. So they, calorie restrict and then are able to lose weight. But it's also very unnatural. Like our bodies produce this hormone in a very intentional way. A lot of things we do, our body is like already a perfectly conducted machine if we like let it work its way. And so going so unnatural, I think has implications that we don't understand. But I don't want to make it sound like it's all bad. It is an incredible tool to use if you are experiencing obesity and need to lose weight quickly. But I think for most people, it shouldn't be used as a sort of like, one size fits all solution.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think because it's gotten so popular to take GLP-1s, we are going to see more of those long-term effects of mass use and cosmetic use in the next decade or so. We're ultimately guinea pigs in a lot of these situations. And I'm curious if you have any insight on so people are taking it and a lot of times they do lose a ton of weight. but do they have to stay on these medications? Like what happens after they go
They
off of
do.
them?
Yeah, there's been studies that have shown that if people get off of the medications, that within the same amount of time they were on the medications, 75% or more of people gain the exact amount of weight back or more. So that's why it's like, you asked the question, which I didn't completely answer, like, is it affecting your metabolism? No, because it's not making you more efficient, and it's actually making you worse. Like, you can, once you're on a GLP-1, you can consume less calories going forward than you could before, but your cells aren't better at actually taking in that. And obviously we know too, a lot of people don't use those GLP-1s to really change the way they eat, change the way they like, move their bodies and really get overall more holistically healthy. So it's not as sustainable. So what I think is really, hopefully the best solution for us is if we use the GLP-1 medications and use them as needed, but then really rely on more natural, holistic solutions that really teach our body how to produce that GLP-1 itself properly.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if we aren't doing anything to heal the body at a root cause, we're only slapping a band-aid, right? We're slapping
Yes.
band-aids on all these issues. And it's kind of like, let's say you have like a vase and or a bucket and there's a bunch of holes in it. We're like closing all the holes. And eventually I feel like
Yep.
something's going to burst open. You have all this pressure building up. So it's amazing that there are tools now that we can learn and be able to heal our metabolisms at a root cause, because ultimately, like, that's the best way to live, because then you can function optimally for a long term in a way that's safe, that you can do forever. And I hear so many buzzwords, right, around metabolism and around this kind of health. And I'm like, okay, she's the expert. I've been saving my questions for you. So can you also explain the role of AMPK when it comes to the cellular metabolism?
Sure. Well, I'm impressed that you know about AMPK because it's not very well known. But basically, AMPK is an enzyme. It's in every cell of our bodies, and it tells our bodies to make more healthier, stronger mitochondria. And so, if you remember from like high school science, the mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. And so with more mitochondria and healthier, stronger mitochondria, that is how you're able to process the energy, process the nutrients you're taking in faster, and your body is able to use that energy rather than to store it as fat. So it is really the key to unlocking a faster, better, more efficient metabolism. And like in layman's terms, what I like to like tell people that how to think about it. So AMPK gets activated to after like endurance exercise. So if you've ever gone for a run or like a bike ride or whatever and worked out hard, your AMPK has been ramping up and it actually produces that natural GLP-1 response, which is why like if you get off the treadmill or go for a run or whatever, like you don't feel starving right away. You might feel starving in like a couple hours, but like it really like activates this enzyme that's so important for our bodies and for that cellular growth and regeneration.
Amazing. And then is there ever like a disruption in AMPK for people, or is this something that tends to be operating pretty optimally?
No, there's three sort of enzymes at force in your body, and like they can both work together and then, against each other. So like one that you may have heard of, and I feel like I'm gonna go down like too deep of a rabbit hole, but like you may have heard of like mTOR if you're like more into the nerdy like wellness world. And mTOR and AMPK kind of work like contradictory to each other. So mTOR is more of like a growth. It will sort of like set things in supercharge, which is why it can like actually, we want to limit our mTOR as adults because it can like help cancer cells spread in our bodies and things like that. So there are, of course, everything is in proper balance. Like as an adult, you still need to like, regenerate tissue if you injure yourself or things like that. But you'd rather, as a grown up, you want more AMPK and less of mTOR in the most simple terms.
Amazing. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense as far as like it's kind of like the mineral intake, right? How there's like the different minerals that are going to battle each other. So it's always about finding that perfect balance where the ones that you want more of, you have more of, and all of those different things. I mean, there's just so much duality
Yeah.
within the body.
we love as a society to be told like this is good and this is bad, but that's almost never the case. Like cortisol is the perfect example, the hormone, the stress hormone, right? Like people, it gets a bad rap and people are like, I don't want cortisol. Like you need cortisol. You need it at the right time of day and in the like overall right levels. Otherwise your body, like you would be dead on the couch, right? You wouldn't be able to do anything. And so the truth is like we want all of these enzymes and nutrients and minerals and things. We just need them in the right ratios at the right time.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's amazing when you realize how much duality there is. It's not always like good, bad. It's like yes, and both are good. There's a proper balance.
Yes,
That's what we want
right.
to see. Yeah. So for people who are listening to this, I'm sure so many people are like, "Oh my gosh, I have brain fog. I have stubborn like belly fat. I am super
Yeah.
tired all the time. Like my metabolism is probably broken." What is your solution for metabolism health?
Sure. So overall, like I like to say, like we all need to think about doing the big things big and the small things can be small. So we obviously at Veracity have products that address these and they are really, really important. But I'm a health coach as well. And like, I want to be frank that people need to understand the basics of taking care of their bodies. Otherwise, all the bells and whistles are not going to do what they're supposed to do. And so, the major categories of that are, nutrition. Are you eating the right things, meaning, plants and fruits and vegetables and organic things? And are you eating it at the right time? Are you giving your body the proper energy at the right times of day? Um, it's sleep. That is obviously our time to restore and also rebalance. And that's when the cellular regeneration happens the most to give us the strong metabolism that we're looking for. Are you consuming enough water and hydrating? Are you moving your body in some kind of way? And are you limiting your exposure to toxic chemicals? And that can be very, very simple things that you do in your life, whether it's, trying to like leave your cell phone, limit your blue light like later in the day, or it's drinking out of glass instead of plastic, things like that. Those key things, they sound like boring and like, mundane, but like you do some of those better and like you're going to reap amazing benefits because your cells are going to be actually able to do the things that they know how to do, right? It's like if you had a soldier that is trained but he doesn't have any guns, so maybe that's a bad example, but like, he can't do, but he knows what to do. He just needs the things to do it, right? But what I'm really proud of at Veracity is, so we started the company a few years ago, and with I guess I can tell her a little bit of our backstory if you don't mind. But
Please do, yeah.
The origin story was I have something called Hashimoto's. That's an autoimmune metabolic disorder. And I had no idea I had it until I was going through infertility. And I was 2 years into trying to get pregnant, and I was sent to an IVF clinic to get a normal hormonal reading workup. And I got the blood work back, and they gave me this diagnosis. And it was very much what I like to call the Western medical treatment, where I was diagnosed with something. I was told literally nothing about it, not how it affects my body. I was given a prescription drug, and then I was started on IVF and like assumed that things would be okay. So it's like drugs on drugs on drugs. 2 years later, I was still not successful. We were still suffering from infertility and had gone through like honestly the worst heartbreak of my entire life. And this is where, like, out of desperation, I turned to functional medicine because I was like, I will try anything, basically. But it's through functional medicine and looking at that root cause approach that my whole life has changed for the better. So I understood then what Hashimoto's meant, what it was doing to my body, how to think about both the like impact of my thyroid and my overall inflammatory response. Now, years later, I have 2 children and I have healed and reversed my Hashimoto. So I don't take medication. My levels are all normal. So what I wanted to bring to the world was like, how do we bring a root cause based approach to people before they're, have gone through heartbreak. Cause I told my story and then I just heard it from so many other people in different ways. It wasn't always infertility. It wasn't always Hashimoto's, but it was like some suffering that led them to functional medicine and how it had been so impactful on their lives. And I'm like, why do we have to wait till like something is blown up? And so what I sought to create with Veracity was like how to connect root cause and functional health to the ways that you're taking care of yourself every day, right? So like you want to look better, you want to feel better in your clothes, and that is rooted in your underlying health and not just treating the symptoms. But when I first started the company, we went with a more diagnostic approach. So we have, and we still have it today, but we have an at-home hormone test where we help you figure out what's actually going on in your body through an at-home saliva test. It's super easy. You get to meet with a functional nutritionist and really understand, again, what's going on and what the unique treatment plan for you is. And through that, we have tested thousands of people's hormones and had all this data, not only the actual like biological, like what are their hormone levels, but also them telling us like what their symptoms were when they arise. And through the connecting, we're like, wow, there's this metabolic health crisis that's underlying many of these hormonal imbalances that are then cascading in all these other symptoms of weight gain, acne, inflammation, etc. And so I was like, you know what? Something I think we're uniquely positioned to do is create a product that addresses that root cause, because even like we mentioned, GLP-1s aren't addressing the root cause of it, and bring the power of a drug-like substance, but in a way that is non-drug, natural, safe, side effect free. And that is what Veracity did when we launched Metabolism Ignite, which is our core metabolic health supplement. And it helps to reset your metabolism, increase your GLP-1 naturally, which can lead to healthy weight loss, but also increased energy, increased immunity, increased strength, all the things that, I was speaking about before.
Incredible. Yeah, I use Metabolism Ignite every single day. I have for 3 or 4 months now. And I can say, even as somebody who was already in good shape, like in great shape before taking it and doing all the healthy things, right? Like I eat a very clean diet. I'm probably like a 98-2 instead of an 80-20, like I really try to keep it so holistic. And still with all of that, living in a city, having stress, being in front of tech all day, I still had like some sluggishness or would feel like bloated or brain fog. And the difference I feel with this simple supplement every single day is incredible. It has definitely helped me dial in my energy levels. It's helped me, I think, reveal like a more toned physique and get rid of a lot of just like a sluggishness around my waistline, especially around the holidays. It's been a godsend. So I can personally attest, as somebody who even didn't have huge struggles before, it has done amazing things for me. So I can't even imagine for somebody who's really struggling to get started on their health journey, how dramatic the impact can be, because I've definitely seen an impact. So can you take us through the ingredient lineup and just how Metabolism Ignite works to support your metabolism at a root cause?
Yes. Well, first of all, I'm so glad that you've had that experience. I myself have taken Metabolism Ignite for over a year. It helped me at first when I was postpartum and trying to sort of get that off. But like overall, same, very healthy, run marathons. But what I think is so amazing about the product, even for long-term use, is it really allows your body to be more at like a powerful state of homeostasis. So like what that means is like, I never feel ravenous. I feel hungry, like don't get me wrong, but I never feel so ravenous. So I'm able to make better food choices all the time, right? It's not like because that's kind of why a lot of us make bad food choices, right? We're running around, we're exhausting ourselves, and etc. So it's just really overall helps you maintain all the healthy habits that I think we desire to, but like our life sort of gets in the way. So I have a team of 11 doctors that I founded the company with across both Western trained, board certified, as well as naturopathic, more Eastern trained doctors. And when we set out initially, we said, okay, we want to do something in metabolic health. but we obviously know we don't know everything. So we were able to partner with the leading research scientist in the space. His name is Dr. Jonathan Jones, has been studying plant polyphenols and their impact on metabolic health for the last 20 years. He helped us create our proprietary ingredient, which is called Metabolate. And it is a blend of lemon verbena and hibiscus. And what and through the combination of these two plant extracts is what activates this AMPK pathway. What I want to tell you about as well is like the sort of art of the science of what we do. So because we're using plants, and it's important not just to look at sort of the cosmetic labeling of a supplements brand, because there might be other companies that will use lemon something or, et cetera, et cetera. What our proprietary extract does is not only we have 10 published clinical studies that prove it does what we say it does. It's tested on women, so not just on men, which is also a big thing. But we source this uniquely in where we have figured out how to grow the plants and then extract them. Kind of like I think about it like making fine wine. Like anybody can grow grapes and make a bottle of wine, but like to actually make it taste good, you have to know how to put the plants in the best position to do that. And so our formula is so much more potent than other things, which is how we get these more drug-like results. So we have about 6 times the potency of even other natural non-drug alternatives because of the way we've developed and cultivated the plants that actually successfully is able to activate this enzyme.
That is so incredible. And I love the attention to detail that you guys have had, especially in a world where the supplement industry is heavily unregulated. So there are a lot of companies out there who are like dusting their dosages, right? Like doing such small dosages of things that there are no impact or sourcing things improperly. Like I think a great example would be the mushroom industry. So many mushrooms now are grown in a bucket and are not the fruiting body. So people are taking things thinking they're getting this amazing dosage, but they're not. And the fact that you guys pay attention to the quality of the ingredients, to the dosage, to the point where you're actually extracting them yourself and growing them yourselves and having your hands on that is really awesome. And I would love to see more companies doing what you guys are doing as far as the attention to detail and just like having that impact in mind for people so that they can take it.
Because you need to know what you're getting has like what it says it has in it, right? Like, and that's both the good things and then not the bad things. And like, so the other piece of what we do in all of our supplements is everything is standardized. So we know that every single batch is including the exact same amount of the actives, right? And that's we verify that through third-party testing. And that's really important. Like a simple analogy that hopefully makes it easy for people to understand is like if you had a piece of meat, like a steak, and you cut it up, even each slice of that steak is not going to have the same portion of like meat and fat, right? Some is going to be more fatty, some is going to be more lean. What you have to, but that if you were to take the pieces of meat as supplements, you would be getting different things in each one of those slices. So what you have to do is then go and break it into smaller pieces and know, hey, this is like all the lean part, and that's essentially what we do from the manufacturing side.
Incredible. That is so awesome that you guys are doing all of that and making such an effective supplement. So what are some of the impacts that you have seen from people either in your trials or just customers like sharing their stories? Like what are some of the crazy impacts you've seen of people with Metabolism Ignite?
There's been so many like this is why I love doing what I do, because you're like really feeling like you have an impact on people's lives. Before I started Veracity, I ran a fashion brand that you may have heard of called Cynthia Raleigh, which was so fun, right? Like, you get to help people, wear beautiful things that make them feel good. But what I think is just so much more meaningful to what I do now is like you help people feel better every day. But we've had incredible, stories where people are able to lose, the 15 pounds that they haven't been able to lose for 20 years, or they're able to like postpartum get back to where they want to be. I have another client who was telling me she's been overweight and has Crohn's, and that it has actually reduced her. Not only is she losing weight, but she's reduced her Crohn's flares, which is like incredible and like life changing. And then even from a performance side, like people are being able to like, reach their running goals and things like that, because as you mentioned, like it really powers your body in the right way. So, kind of depends on where people are in their journey. But the amazing thing is that it can be helpful for people wherever they are on that journey.
Absolutely. I think it really ultimately helps people remove friction, right? Like, let's say the brain fog is keeping them from accomplishing something they want to do in their life. Because honestly, if we don't have enough energy, like it's so hard to build anything and accomplish any goals, whether or not they're health related. So like this
Yeah.
can help remove that friction for people and just kind of get rid of those things that are causing the brain fog and the lack of energy. And then of course the weight is a huge part. I mean, I think a lot of people
Oh,
in the health world want to like crap on the idea that like looking good and looking our best is a good enough motivator. I remember in my health and wellness coaching program, them being like, that's not a good enough motivator if you're working with a client. I'm like, to me, looking good is a huge motivator, actually. It really motivates me.
I love that you say that, because something I think we need to be more upfront about the elephant in the room is people do want to look good. And the sad thing is, if we don't talk about them and the right ways of achieving what they want to achieve, then people go, I can't tell you how many women are, starving themselves, right? Maybe they're not technically anorexic, but they're pretty close. Or they're engaging in other bad behaviors, or they're binging, or they're eating the wrong foods, right? Like, and they're really, is long term destroying our health and our mental like state of mind. Like, confidence is a huge part of like our mental fortitude, and we should be upfront about that. And it's okay, like it's okay to accept bodies in whatever way they come in, but it's also okay to say, I want to feel and look a different way because it makes me proud, and that has so many other benefits to our mental health and physical health. And so I love that you say that. And that's something that like because people, this world of social media, some people will call out, and, particularly because I'm not overweight, and I recognize that, but I also work really hard to make sure I'm maintaining that. And I want to be clear that I am not telling any person that they have to, or they should, or they don't look good. And that's not what it's about. It is about, first of all, being healthy. And when you're healthy, your body will get to it and maintain your natural healthy weight. But then, secondly, it's about, helping people do things in the right way, and not just sort of like putting it under the rug.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if we can open up the idea that, looking our best, whatever that means to each individual person, because that also has to do with someone's biology, but also their goals and like their ideal lifestyle. But when you have like that skin, like that deep glow that shows, and you're at your optimal state of health, it shows. And it does, like, I do think beauty is not just vain in a sense. Oftentimes when we look our
Agreed.
most just glowy and effervescent, like truly like cellularly beautiful, it's because we're healthy on the inside, and that shows. And it's also a
Yeah.
mental health component. So definitely, and like when
Hmm.
we can look our best and feel confident, we show up so differently. Like when I know I look good, I show up to the function with a different energy than if I'm not feeling good about myself. I'm not going to be the same like vibrant, happy, outgoing person. And that's just, one of the realities of life that I think a lot of women face.
And it's, how can you be present too? The other thing I love about Metabolism Ignite and other things is like, from my personal experience and what I've heard from so many other women, is like you have so much food noise, right? We're constantly judging ourselves. What am I eating? How much am I eating? And so even if you're at this like amazing dinner with friends or family, whatever, like you're in your head a lot, right? Like, am I eating too much? Am I not eating enough? And like, what's amazing about this product is it does help your brain like shut that off and really like feel good and focus on the present and what you have surrounding you, and not sort of be worrying about the food on the table.
Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree. And then another component I know that that you guys have really shared a lot about, especially with your new product launch that affects metabolism and overall health, is the liver health. So, how does
Yeah.
liver health play into this whole bigger picture?
I'm glad you asked this. So we're really excited. We launched our newest product, Metabolism Cleanse, What I love about it is a very like cleanse can be a loaded word. People ask me now all the time. They're like, "Oh my gosh, can I like leave the house when I'm doing it?" Like it is very gentle, and also a 10-day cleanse, so you can really reset the body. We recommend, you can use it for longer, but we recommend using it like for the 10-day regimen, like once a quarter, and it addresses the core of that like organ, the liver, that helps detoxify the body. And the way like even how I like to describe functional medicine to people who don't know it, it's first about like cleaning out the body or detoxifying the body and then adding in the right things, right? And like if you back to the gas tank analogy, like it is really important. Like if you don't have a clean gas tank, then even as much fuel as you put in, it's not going to run, right? So these things are synergistic together. And so the liver is this key organ of detoxification, but because of all these toxins, it builds fat in our livers. And this is also where that 93% of metabolic dysfunction comes from. The liver can sustain very, very little fat. So while like subcutaneous fat is just sort of like normal fat, visceral fat is fat around organs, which is bad for the body, but you can still maintain about like 5 or so pounds of visceral fat and be very, very healthy. You can sustain like 0.3 pounds of liver fat before it actually makes your whole body unhealthy. And so, this product is set out to be like, how can we sort of help people reset the liver so that the liver can function optimally? So the major benefits are it improves fat digestion. It will enhance your nutrient absorption and storage. It strengthens blood sugar control. It supports healthy cholesterol levels. It detoxifies heavy metals and overall helps with like hormonal regulation, which allows your body to just operate better overall.
Phenomenal. Yeah, the liver is so important for so many functions of the body. It's actually insanity. So, what are some of the symptoms of an overburdened liver?
Yeah, I mean, they relate to some of the other things we might think of as overall like gut health, but like general like sluggishness, bloating, gas, constipation, even the brain fog relates to that sort of toxin buildup. But like another like phrase I think a lot of people relate to is like a wired and tired feeling, which is like you can't sleep, but you're also exhausted. So those are just some of the symptoms of, a dysfunctioning liver. Obviously, I'm not talking about like a heavy disease state. But as I mentioned too, the liver is really like connected to our ability to balance blood sugar. So like blood sugar spikiness, like you'll also like kind of feel that if that is like bouncing all over the place, that could be a core sign that your liver isn't functioning properly.
Gotcha. Yeah. And blood sugar is major for weight management, for skin, for energy. And then I even recently learned that when our liver is overburdened, then we can't properly like flush hormones out, like excess hormones as we're
Yes.
cycling through them. And then that can lead to acne, like hormonal acne. So
Yeah.
I feel like everything starts and ends in the liver, which is so crazy. So if somebody is like, okay, I have these symptoms, like I really want to do the metabolism cleanse, what can they expect within that 10 days? Like, what's the experience like?
Sure. So the first couple of days, you'll start to feel that like improved digestion and elimination. So some people, there's really no major, like I said, side effects, but some people say they have to like pee more often, for example. But it's really that sort of like initial reducing the bloating and the water retention. The next like 3 to 5 days is when you'll start to see more of the like benefits of like increased energy and mental clarity, reducing the sugar and carbohydrate cravings and lowering inflammation. And then by like days 6 to 10, that's when like it's ramping up your ability to process and burn fats, improve your metabolism, improve your digestion, so less indigestion, even more of that sort of smooth sailing, smooth energy balance throughout the day, improved hormonal balance, and then really ability to even like sleep better.
Okay, wow. So it can really affect so much just within 10 days. And I love that it is like a natural formula and it's pretty gentle. I just finished the 10-day cleanse. And it was really gentle, which I
Good.
love, because I think people hear cleanse and they think like I'm going to run into the bathroom, I'm going to be sick
Right.
to my stomach. Like there's a lot of negative connotations to cleanse, but it was so gentle. It was just the easiest thing in the world,
And it
which
makes
I
all the
love.
other things you're doing like work better, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Like, so for example, like if your liver is overburdened, it can't even process the, the metabolism night or the glutathione or the, omega 3s or the other nutrients that we're taking in. And so you're going to see the other benefits that maybe aren't even necessarily from the cleanse product itself, but it's from all the other, either nutrients or supplementation that you're doing.
Amazing. Yeah, it's super foundational. So, what are some of those ingredients that you have in Metabolism Cleanse that are having this profound impact?
Sure. So some you may have heard of. Milk thistle is a key ingredient, and that is amazing. The other is like a dandelion root. What I love and about what we do with like functional medicine and more plant-based medicine is what you'll even see is a lot of the plants, the color signifies the benefit to the body. So a lot of like, and even the packaging that we created, it's this yellow because yellow is nature's sign for liver health. So it's the dandelion and the milk thistle, and it these all help support that sort of detoxification all the way down at the cellular level through the liver.
Amazing. I did not know about the colors. That's really cool. I am definitely going to look more into that, because now I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to know what all the different colors do for my body. That's a really fascinating fact.
It is cool. And it's like, it sort of like makes you understand how ancient people even figured this stuff out in the first place. And you're like,
Mhm.
oh, wow, like how cool is it that we're able to do some of this stuff thousands of years ago when we didn't have textbooks or Google? And it's like, nature is telling us stuff indirectly.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even if I don't know if you've seen like those charts where it's like the different food that's shaped like the organ of the body and it affects
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Is there much credibility to that?
I mean, I can't say that like I know for sure looking at all of them, but like um I don't think it's totally unwarranted thinking about it that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love nowadays. I think that people are leaning into trying to marry ancient wisdom with science and like test ancient wisdom, because
Yes.
for so long we've ignored Eastern medicine and ancient practices and seen them as like woo woo or things that we can't prove. But I think nowadays people are seeking to prove those things more so that we can bring them into the Western world, which I absolutely love, because ultimately I think that if we can heal something or support something in a natural way, that should be the first line of defense, not just jumping to pharmaceuticals.
First of all, we need it. We do need it to work, right? Like, and that is fundamental. Like, we can't have this like woo woo. I like to call it gemstones and crystals wellness, where you're just like sort of
Mhm.
like hoping that something, will work. Like, we want to know it works, but we want to do so in a way that is natural and sustainable and retraining the body to do it itself, as well as get the power of the extracts. And something like I will go on a slight tangent that you're not asking me about, like, but plant medicine is really so powerful. But people ask me, like, how could your products possibly be anywhere near drugs? And to be clear, you are not going to take Metabolism Ignite and feel the exact same satiety effect as Ozempic, which I think is so unnatural that you shouldn't feel that way unless you obviously need to. But what is so amazing about like plant medicine is it was designed in a way that supports the right balance to get the impact without side effects. So most drugs are actually plant-based actives. Like you wouldn't be able to tell from the label, but they are getting these things from plants. The problem is they're extracting out a single chemical, where in nature those chemicals were meant to work in concert with other chemicals. And when working in concert, you don't have this like drastic like side effects basically. But when using the whole plant in the right way, you are able to give that same power or potency without the downsides.
Exactly. Yeah. And, with drugs in general, I always say if something seems too good to be true, it probably is.
Yeah.
If something's having an insane response, so some people are able to lose crazy amounts of weight on Ozempic right away, especially if, they're not in a situation where they truly need it, there's gonna be something else. Like the scale's gonna tip. There's another area of life that's probably gonna go down. And what I love about metabolism, it's pretty sad. And I think a lot of people, they see the benefits or see what other people are doing, like, oh, I need that. But then they don't realize that their health's going to suffer in other areas, where I think Metabolism Ignite, and I know a lot of companies claim this term, but I've told everyone that I see Metabolism Ignite as nature's Ozempic. Like it doesn't have those side effects. You're welcome. Yeah. And it's a subtle shift at first, it's not like this immediate insane shift, but you can take it, fuel your metabolism, feel amazing, lose pounds effortlessly while still being able to eat, live your life, have energy, like go lift weights, eat protein. There's never been a time where I'm like, I have no appetite because of Metabolism Ignite. It's like I'm more satiated at the proper times. My hunger cues are stronger. I think I'm more leptin sensitive, but it's not like I'm unable to eat, if that makes sense.
No, and that's what you should be, because that's normal. And you also want to be able to go out to dinner and enjoy food. And that's a part of the human experience and like how we bond with others, right? Like that is what we want, right? We don't want to live in this like weird ozone, counterfactual world where, we don't eat and then we don't like feel good either.
Exactly. It's no way to live. And, life, our goals are important, but they have to fit into a joyful life and a full life. And I try to always preach that, like, if you're accomplishing your goals at the expense of your entire life, then you're probably going about it all the wrong. Yeah. It's like, what's the point of living? We're also meant to enjoy life, enjoy good foods, and, not necessarily chemically processed, highly addictive, palatable foods. But good foods, like foods that we love, that love us back. I mean, if we can't enjoy that, what's the point?
I also think what's good is like, look, you can't avoid all ultra processed foods. And like, I'm a mom of 2 young kids. The scarier thing is like that stat I said on like 75% of our food we eat is ultra processed. For kids, it's actually higher, because like, think of all the snacks that like they have to bring, and it makes you feel terrible as a mother, but you're like, how literally there's like, unless I lived in a vacuum, it's like so hard to actually like cut that to zero. And what Metabolism Ignite does is helps to like undo a good portion of that like is impossible for us to avoid. So does it matter? Does it mean you should continue, eating processed foods? No, like, but I think it gives you the strength and the willpower to be able to cut some of them out. Which doesn't mean like you're going to mess something up if you do have, those things every once in a while. No, not at all. And that's the great thing about it.
I love that balance so much. So for somebody who is now wanting to like just incorporate more healthy habits into their life, we've talked a lot about how to support your metabolism in a lifestyle level. How can someone support their liver health at a lifestyle level in tandem with Metabolism Cleanse?
Sure. I think thinking about your overall toxin exposure, and like, people ask me all the time, like, how did you cure your Hashimoto's? And like, look, bodies are complicated. I will never know exactly what I did to do it, because I'm not living like, in a controlled environment. But the 2 things majorly I did was I stopped eating gluten, because gluten is a thyroid mimicking thing and also inflammatory, and autoimmune is an inflammatory response. But the other thing I did is I really just tried to clean out a lot of the toxin exposure in my life. And that was in the beauty products I use, like in drinking out of glass versus plastics, even in, I'm drinking now a sparkling water, but there's different sparkling waters that have different chemical profiles. Like sadly, LaCroix that everyone loves, like is, has a lot more PFAS in it, which is a chemical. So I think it's just being a little bit more conscious about the chemical exposure that you have, maybe trying to like replace your water filter at home, minimize, like make sure your Wi-Fi router isn't in your bedroom. It's like things that are really not hard to do. And like you set it up once. Another thing is like not using nonstick pans, not putting plastic in the dishwasher. And like, you're not going to feel an effect overnight. Like, but you, in the course of 3 months, 6 months, a year, your body is not, it only has so many resources. So when you're making it fight fires, it cannot like address the other issues. And so we want to like have less fires. And by limiting that like toxin exposure, and then look, we all need a little reset, which is why Metabolism Cleanse exists. There's other, natural foods that help to, sort of clean out the body. But I think it's just the best thing you can do is just like cut out a few things and really try to sustain that for the long term.
Yeah, it's like the flywheel effect where, if you have a big flywheel you're trying to push, the first push is going to like do nothing. The second
Yeah.
push maybe a tiny bit more. And then by the 100th push, you've built momentum, right? And it's spinning on its own. People can ask, like, what push, what is the step that made the flywheel move on its own? It's like, well, actually, it was all these little incremental things. Each one seemed like nothing, but all together, when you're doing all these little things, you can see major transformation. And I think that's what trips people up. They don't realize that it's not just one little quick fix. Like finding true healing from the inside out is going to take a million little decisions, but you can do that over the course of time. You don't have to do it all overnight. And that's the beautiful thing. We're all on a journey. Even the experts are on a journey and have goals, which I think is always a really good reminder. So I do want to respect your time, but I want to jump into hormone testing really fast before I let you go.
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So why does hormone testing matter specifically for women?
Well, just to define what hormones are basically little chemical messengers in our body that tell things to like turn on and off, right? And so they're so important because without them, like our body would not be functioning at all. And as women, like we're not just guided by circadian rhythms, which are like what men are, but we're really guided by our hormones on our monthly cycle. And that both has its advantages, but also, just we have to be aware of what is happening to them. And as I mentioned earlier, like hormones are really important to be in balance, but so many of our hormones are out of balance. Through our hormone testing, we've shown that 87% of people have some hormonal imbalance. So it's nearly everybody. But it's not clear, like they're very hard to like self-diagnose, I would say. Like even people who think they have super high cortisol, they might actually be suffering from low cortisol. It doesn't mean that like stress is not still the thing causing it, but it's sort of like your body has stopped producing the proper response to that. And so what I love about what we offer with our hormone testing at Veracity was like our goal is to make it easy, affordable, accessible, and like understand, like comprehensible as like to what to do about it. So our hormone test is an at-home saliva test. You get like a little tube, you spit in the tube in the morning, you mail it back to us, and we test the 5 major hormones: estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, cortisol, and DHEA. And that gives you a really good holistic picture of your, what's called your steroid hormones, or those that can, cause energy and blood sugar balance and things and strength with, DHEA is your anti-aging hormone. And like, you kind of get a good sense of your overall like hormonal balance and where your deficiencies lie. The other thing I'll say that's really nice about hormones is they're really, I would say like easy to impact. Easy not being like you take a pill and one day later they're better, but you can see a meaningful change in the balance of your hormones within even less than 90 days. But the power is knowing what's going on with your hormones to be able to make the right lifestyle adjustments to then be in more imbalance and be functioning at a higher level.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people who just assume, they see what their friend's taking. Their friend's taking DIM, and they're like, "Well, I need to take DIM," but they might be super high progesterone, or people are taking just different things like that. Like someone might be really seeking those phytoestrogens in their diet. Someone else might see that, but they're high estrogen, so that's not the route to go. So, I mean, it's important to know what's going on in your body because everyone's balances are different. I think one thing that does surprise women is what a strong role testosterone plays in our bodies. We think of that as the male sex hormone, but why is testosterone important for women?
We actually have more testosterone in our body than we have estrogen, right? We measure it differently. So even when you see labs, it's confusing because it's like literally on a, 1,000 degree or, basis point difference. So it's hard to like understand that. But testosterone is so important for a lot of our body. Like It's called a steroid hormone because it does kick into action a lot of things. It's important for our muscle building, and muscle is the number one metabolic like sort of trigger, right? Like muscle helps us build that metabolic endurance and the ability to continue to burn fuel rather than store it as fat. So it's hugely important for that. It's super important when it comes to blood sugar maintenance, and we want it to be strong but in the right direction. So a lot of people with PCOS have too high levels of testosterone, but then a lot of women in perimenopause or menopause have way too low levels of testosterone. Like it's a super important hormone.
I hope more women can realize that testosterone is definitely a woman's hormone as much as it is a man's hormone. It is something that we really do want to balance. So when you
I
get
will
these,
say though, just really quick, because I know
yeah,
like people are hearing this and they're like, oh, well, there's these online companies that like offer like testosterone that you can just like sort of get like prescribed to you. And I would be very cautious with that. Also with general HRT, whether it's estrogen or progesterone, like hormones are not like the more the merrier, the less the merrier. Like it is really about balance, and you're not going to know what your levels are unless you're testing. So even if you, I don't think, bioidentical hormone replacement therapy is totally okay, but you need to be testing your hormones. So even if doctors are saying, oh, you don't need to test hormones because you're 50 and yada yada, or whatever the reason is, like you need to be testing your hormones, because if you let things go too far the other way, you're going to have unintended consequences.
absolutely. It's the same thing as kind of how we were talking about all the enzymes. The balance is really what is important. And we have to know what's going on in our bodies because everybody's body is going to have a different balance. And in order to find homeostasis, like what your best friend is doing might be the exact opposite of what you need to do, right? Like what some influencer on TikTok, she might be doing the right things, even, she might actually be doing the perfect things for her body, but that does not mean that's what I'm supposed to do because my balance is going to be completely different and I might
Yes.
have a different route to take. So that's why it's so important not to just follow what the world's doing, but to know your levels and know your body, right? And I totally agree with you there. It's really important. I think I love social media. I love the education that comes with it. But with something like this that's so customized and personalized, it's really important for people to understand that just because something's working for someone else does not mean it'll work for them because it might be just so far away from what they need for their specific balance. So with
Yes.
that, all the hormone testing, and obviously you guys get those results back and you have a whole lineup of products that are amazing for the body and also amazing for hormone levels. How does the hormone testing inform you guys when it comes to your product formulation?
Sure. I mean, that's what I think gives our company a unique advantage on really understanding the root cause and then designing products for it. So we start by studying the root cause imbalances that we see through our clients and the data. And then with our team of 11 doctors, we really say like, dive into the research and say what are the different remedies that we can take from this, and then obviously go into actual product development. But I think it's what makes us uniquely good designing high potency products that are addressing the root cause, but in a safe and sort of side effect free way. And then for me, as the founder, what is important to me is that we're not just selling people a bottle of pills. Sure, a lot of our clients are using, just purchasing, like if you looked at their order history, it's just supplements. Maybe they never took our hormone test. But what we try to do, and what I even call our customers clients, is we really try to help people like from a whole health perspective, because I want people, of course, to be taking Metabolism Ignite and cortisol calming and our other amazing solutions, but I also want them to be understanding what are the like things within their life that they can be changing that are going to be getting them even better results. And that only comes through a more holistic experience. And because we're coaching people on their hormones, we have a team of holistic health nutritionists. We learn so many insights from like what people are asking and how they're asking it that we then implement to content that we even put out to just people who are just buying the supplements. So I think it's a very, it helps us learn how to be better coaches to our clients.
I love that so much. And I love that you guys care so much. Okay, so last question that I always love to ask. What is your biggest health goal right now?
Oh, that's a good question. And I should have an immediate answer to that being the founder. But I think the thing I'm 39 now recently, and the thing I've had to wrestle with is, and the question that people ask me quite a lot is about balance, or from the outside, I look like this New York mom who's doing it all. Like I run marathons, I have kids, I have a business, and they want to do it all. And something I'm trying to be more thoughtful about is like periodizing what I'm focused on, even from a health perspective. And so something like I think I've done really good at like the nutrition, and I've done in the last year a lot better job on the sleep angle. But I want to actually marry the like social like component of that into my health and wellness. So what that means is like carving out time when I feel at my best to like laugh with friends, to like really, disconnect from my to-do list. So that's really my, primary, one of my goals for myself. And it makes a huge difference. Dr. G, who's our lead physician, she's like, laughter actually has one of the biggest benefits to your health and wellness. And so, getting into that genuine state more often is just so powerful.
That is so beautiful. I love that goal. I mean, it's so important for people to be surrounded by their tribe and to enjoy and laugh. And that is, I mean, it's anti-inflammatory. It's amazing for our bodies.
Yes.
So where can people find you and find Veracity?
Sure. Well, you can find Veracity on our website, veracityselfcare.com, and on social under the same handles, both on Instagram and TikTok at Veracity Self Care. So yeah, please check us out. And I'm my personal Instagram is Allie Egan, and I'm like always love answering people's questions. If people have questions about the products or health goals in general, I'm here.
Amazing. Well, Allie, thank you so much for sharing all the wisdom today. I know I learned a lot today, and my audience is going to absolutely learn so much today. So I really appreciate you taking the time today to come on the show.
No, it was so fun. Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to screenshot it, share it to your stories or wherever you share. Tag Veracity, tag Allie, tag myself, and help us get the word out there about metabolic health and healing at a root cause. And until next time, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.